to the CEEC Local Energy Resources Network. This is our 7th meeting, and we call it LERN because we're going to learn about a lot of stuff together, mostly opportunities that are going to help you as you're doing your climate and energy work there on the ground. As always, we really like when people turn on their webcam, but it's not, it's optional. If you're comfortable doing it, it'd be great. This is intended to be an interactive discussion, so we just like to be able to get to know people a little bit better over these meetings. And also, if you would like, you can introduce yourself over chat so we learn a little bit more about who's here today. Okay, next slide. So I'll start. I'm Angie Hacker, CEEC Statewide Best Practices Coordinator. I'm joined by 2 other members of the CEEC team, John and Ryan, and they are both going to introduce themselves over chats, and you can always contact them if you're having any issues. So this is a 1-hour meeting, and it's usually action-packed, and the intention of it is to provide a space for local governments and those that work with them to dive in on programs and opportunities that can help them advance their energy and climate goals. The idea is that you're busy doing the work, and it's hard to track all of these things. There's so much movement happening right now. It's even hard for me, and that's part of my job. So come here, get a briefing, go back to work. Today is a really good example of getting a briefing from something that might be otherwise tough to kind of really navigate or dive into. So today we get to hear from folks from the California Hub for Energy Efficiency Financing. So once we're done with our opportunity sort of roadshow, fire hose, and then we go into a featured discussion with those folks about their financing program. And then we have some time at the end where we get to talk to you a little bit about some of the things CEEC is working on and has available for you as opportunities. So that's the plan for today. Let's go ahead and roll right into our opportunity roundtable. As a reminder, this is intended to be interactive, meaning we would love for you to contribute to this conversation around what kinds of opportunities are out there that you're seeing, because we may have missed something. So we can use that to better populate the weekly that we send it every week, the weekly update, and our funding database, and just better prepare everybody to take advantage of what's available. So as I like to do often, so you can just throw all those things in the chat. As we go, our CEEC folks are going to be putting more links in the chat. So if you're furiously taking notes, or just mind the chat if you really want to dive into more detail on anything I'm saying. Of course, afterwards, like we always do, we send out resources via email, and the recording. So don't stress. Okay, so I like to talk about things on the horizon sometimes first. I'm still excited about the infrastructure law. Last couple of times we've talked, I shared with you that there's a guidebook that was released by the White House. There's a program spreadsheet, which I have shared. So those 2 links should be showing up. And then I've been peeking more in and trying to see what programs am I really excited about. And so I've mentioned the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant is going to get an additional infusion of funding. It's like the 2nd time it's ever happened. It's good. It's a good opportunity for local governments doing energy efficiency, conservation work, allows for renewable energy. There's also 2 energy storage grants that are more like demonstration grants. One's long duration, and those are both from the DOE as well. And there's an energy futures grant, which I am also pretty excited about. It provides financial and technical assistance to local governments for energy system planning and conducting stakeholder engagement. And then sort of conveniently on the next slide, when I do a little bit of a spotlight, I'm going to talk a little bit about a new CEC, California Energy Commission state grant designed to help meet federal cost share requirements. So long story short, as the infrastructure law and other federal sources of opportunities become available to local governments and their partners, just know that there's a cost share. Usually there's a cost share requirement. There's opportunities to mitigate or offset some of those cost share requirements through the CEC now. So that's pretty cool. We're going to talk about that. Along on the federal side, we also have gotten a peek now at President Biden's 2022-23 fiscal year budget. And from what I can tell, it looks like it's investing about $45 billion in discretionary budget authority to tackle the climate crisis, or at least that's what their fact sheet says. So that's a pretty big increase from the previous year. And what it says is it includes new programs across more than 5 agencies, and they have a big focus on disadvantaged communities. So energy and climate goals. Let me get rid of this here. There we go. I wanted to mention too, on the state side of things, that the California state budget also has been, proposed state budget has been released. We talked about that a little last time. A couple of other things have been recently released. I know it's a little out of our wheelhouse, but I think you all are probably hearing the state also released its adaptation strategy. I mention it because we all know that there's some relationship between what might be an adaptation strategy and what might also be mitigations, or what might also be energy resilience or reliability. So there might be some stuff in there for us. And I also wanted to mention that there is a program being developed at OPR called Climate Adaptation and Resilience Planning. And so there's $25 million at OPR. All the stuff there on the right is like sneak preview. It's not ready yet. It's going through the machinations. Same thing then with the CPC's microgrid incentive program. That was funded in by $200 million CPC in last year, 2021. So I believe that PG&E has already got a start on providing it some of the assistance that it's offering to communities for microgrid enablement, and we'll see more coming. Okay, but specifically on opportunities that are available now, that's there on the left. The first one I want to mention is a funding opportunity from the USDA. There's not a lot, if you haven't gotten started, there's not a lot of time to do it, but I want to make sure USDA is on your radar, because there's a lot of energy grants available specifically to rural communities, rural disadvantaged. So if you're one of those, keep an eye on USDA. Maybe you are already preparing to get your letter of intent going for the Rural Energy Pilot Program. That's due on April 18th. So if you are doing that, good luck with it. I actually am trying to get folks from USDA to come talk to us at a future meeting so we can see all the things they have available to us. I don't think when I was in local government, USDA was one that I was tracking. It wasn't really on my radar, but there's some good stuff there, including some renewable energy grants and loans. So we'll talk more about that another day. There's also a new program called the California Schools Healthy Air Plumbing and Efficiency Program, CalShape. And it's a new program. It's providing funding to upgrade heating, air conditioning, and ventilation systems in public schools and replace non-compliant plumbing fixtures and appliances that fail to meet water efficiency standards. So I think some of you do focus on schools, and if you are, this is worth looking at. It's a new program, and the deadline for solicitation for the application is May 31st. So you've got a little time. We've been talking exhaustively also about the Transformative Climate Communities program. That you have some time for, but it's a complicated program. So we want to make sure that we're just continuously reminding you, and hopefully you're starting to work with your regional partners around coming up with emission reducing strategies that you might propose. Applications due July. We're still waiting on the EPIC energy storage solicitation, but that's supposed to come out this month. OPR, we had them, was it last month? Community Economic Resilience Fund. We've had, there's news there. The news is that down below, there's now input opportunities. So public comment period is open. The guidelines are going to be released any day, and they've already set up regional workshops. So April 26th, 27th, May 3rd, and 5th, different parts of the state, to get more input on the Community Economic Resilience Fund program. So there's opportunities to make some suggestions there. Really interestingly, so it's going to be an 8-week solicitation period. That's like, whew, that's short. So if this is something that you're really eyeing, just know that it's expected to come out May 23rd, and you're only going to have 8 weeks, or the week of May 23rd, and you're only going to have 8 weeks to pull together an application. Yikes. Okay, a couple just more little notes here. One is that Civic Spark, if you are an organization that wants a Civic Spark fellow, those applications are open, and sort of the earlier you apply, the better chance you're going to have at actually getting in. So please do submit an application. That's subsidized staffing support, and I've had it, and it's awesome. Also wanted to mention, for anybody doing commercial PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy, that the DOE has recently released a CPACE toolkit. So the link is will be shared as well. I think they're just aggregating best practices from across the country and providing support. Okay, next slide. I'm going to do this super duper fast, which is just another note about that, what I mentioned, a cost share for federal clean energy funding opportunities. I just want you to know about it. So it's from the California Energy Commission. As part of the EPIC program, they've pulled aside some funds, about $20 million, for helping applicants of federal funding opportunities meet cost share requirements, otherwise known as match. Just know that it's there. Local governments would be eligible for it, nonprofits would be eligible for it. And it's really looking to support demonstration projects located in benefiting disadvantaged communities, but it's not exclusive to disadvantaged communities. It's just you get extra scoring points. Projects do have to benefit IOU ratepayers. So specifically, if it's located in an IOU territory, that helps. And then you just have to kind of wait and see what federal funding opportunities are okay to match cost share with. But I just wanted you to know, as federal funding opportunities are becoming more prolific, right? You got the Biden proposal, you've got the infrastructure law. If you're going to go for one and you're really struggling to figure out cost share and match, just keep this in mind. Okay, so that's what I had to say. I'm going to check the chat really quick. And I encourage you all to do the same. People are probably putting some other opportunities in the chat there, and I just want you to have an opportunity to know what they know. So we're going to collect all of that too. Okay. So this will be the meat of our conversation today, a little longer of a discussion. We are really fortunate to be joined by Program Analyst Kelly Delaney and Energy Efficiency Specialist John Verhoef for the California Hub for Energy Efficiency Financing, CHEEF, from the California Alternative Energy and Advanced Transportation Financing Authority, which we also know as CAEATFA. And they are here to talk to us today about programs that I think are a really valuable way to help you meet some of your energy and climate goals, even economic and workforce development goals. And so it's not something that you have to build yourself, which is also great. They have something that's ready for you to help leverage and promote in your community. So with that, thank you for being here. I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you so much. Most people don't get that acronym in one breath, so I'm impressed. All right, hello everyone. My name is Jonathan Verhoef. I'm here with Kelly Delaney, and we are here to tell you about Go Green Financing. This is a suite of energy efficiency financing programs administered by the state of California. So we have a few different goals here today. One is we'd like to provide you with an overview of our programs. Another is that we would like to describe the new opportunities that we have for residents, businesses, and affordable multifamily property owners in your area, and how they can access competitive energy efficiency financing. And we would like to discuss with you opportunities to partner with local governments and community organizations. We realize that a lot of you have probably encountered us before or heard about our programs through other CEEC venues or other kind of events, and we always appreciate your input and opportunities to collaborate. Next slide, please. So, like I said, this is a public-private partnership for financing for energy efficiency retrofits. And the way all of our programs work is that we work by leveraging private capital with a credit enhancement. And as you all know, California has some very aggressive climate goals to reduce energy consumption, gas and electricity consumption in the state. And there's just not nearly enough subsidy capital to pay for these kind of investments and upgrades that we need to our infrastructure. So that's where energy efficiency financing comes in. When we have right now 3 active programs: single family residential, small medium business, and affordable multifamily programs for financing. And our goal is to remove that upfront cost barrier for customers to upgrade their home or their business. Customers will say yes to more projects with that financing without having to pay out of pocket. And customers will say yes to larger projects as well to achieve more energy savings. Next slide, please. So as you just heard, we are part of CAEATFA, California Alternative Energy and Advanced Transportation Financing Authority, and we are in the State Treasurer's Office. Our particular branch of CAEATFA works in energy efficiency, and we derive our legal authority from the Public Utilities Commission, which authorized the decision, which gives us the authority to run these programs. And we get our support from the state's 4 investor-owned utilities: PG&E, SDG&E, SoCal Edison, SoCal Gas. So we are working to help them and their customers save energy. And Go Green Financing is our public-facing brand. We're not specifically designed to be customer facing, but that is the brand that customers see. And that is also how we want to direct contractors and finance companies and other partners. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, our primary mechanism is a credit enhancement that comes in the form of a loan loss reserve or financing loss reserve. You can see in the diagram at the top, this describes the sequence of how this works, but we provide participating finance companies with a loss reserve contribution for qualifying energy saving projects. And that acts like loan insurance for them. And if they finance several projects with our program and build up that loss reserve, they can actually recover up to 90% of a loss in the event of a default. So that's significant protection for the finance company against risk. And in turn, they need to pass along public benefits to the customers. And those take many forms, and we can talk more about that in a bit. But contractors and other participants are going out and talking to customers, giving them quotes with this enhanced financing. And because the customers are more likely to get approved and get more affordable financing, then that gives them the opportunity to say yes to energy efficiency upgrades and deeper energy efficiency upgrades for more energy savings, which is how our program works to meet California's energy goals. On the bottom half of the slide here, we have an example from our single family residential program, Go Green Home. And there's 4 main benefits we see from the loss reserve in that program. One is lower interest rates. Most people are not going to get interest rates anywhere near this competitive. On the left, you can see they're typically often in the high double digits. And then in our program, they're as low as 2.95%. So it's much more affordable for the customer. Also, repayment terms. Typically you're not going to get something out to 15 years for this kind of housing upgrade. So that makes for significantly lower monthly payments, which makes it much more affordable for the customer. Lenders are willing to risk larger amounts, so they will finance up to $50,000 through this program. And also we have broadened approval criteria. This is a big one for customers who, they would like to upgrade their housing, but they don't have the credit background in order to qualify. So these are examples in Go Green Home of how the loss reserve benefits homeowners and tenants as well. All the financing programs are not able to be tied to a lien against the property. They cannot be secured by the real property. And that's why we're able to help tenants as well as property owners. And also, like I said, we're supported by the state's 4 investor-owned utilities. So we designed all of our programs to work in conjunction with benefits that the utilities are offering. So if it's a rebate or an incentive program, we're going to approve those financing. If there's a copay for the customer, we're going to approve that for financing because the utilities have already done their due diligence on the energy savings for those measures. Next slide, please. Right now, we have 15 participating finance companies of various sorts in the program. That includes credit unions on the residential side, mostly credit unions. We also have lease companies. We have companies offering energy service agreements. And with all those different financing companies, that means hundreds of millions in financing capacity. That's one of the big goals of the program that the commission wanted to see, is that this be scalable. Like I was describing earlier, we wanted something that is not going to be limited to just a very limited pool of ratepayer dollars. So because we're using private capital, we have capacity to scale to larger and larger amounts. We're also expecting an application for the National Energy Improvement Fund, or NIFE, as you may know them. So that will bring additional capacity. Next slide, please. So what kind of energy efficiency projects can be financed? In our typical process, customers will find a finance company and apply directly, or they can work with one of our participating contractors or project developers to scope their project. But all of our programs have a pre-qualified list of energy efficiency measures that can be financed. And this is intended to be the easy way to qualify. It's not the only way to qualify for some of our programs. We try to be very broad and not prescriptive to accommodate most types of energy saving projects that are already being done in the industry. Also, we wanted to support the investor-owned utility. So any measure that qualifies for an IOU or REN or a CCA rebate or incentive or program, other kind of program, that's going to be green lighted for financing through our program. And in addition, I wanted to emphasize that as part of the energy saving measures, we have this category that we call legally or practically necessary. That means if you needed to relocate the water heater to install a heat pump, or you needed to upgrade the electrical panel, you need to repair the drywall in order to finish an HVAC upgrade. That's all considered part of the cost for energy efficiency upgrades, and all of that can be financed. We also have, as a selling point, up to 30% of that credit enhanced financing can be for non-energy measures. So if the customer needs to do repairs to the property, they wanted to do a renovation, they wanted to upgrade their landscaping or put in a wheelchair ramp or some outdoor patio seating, all of that has opportunities to be financed through this program as well, along with their energy saving upgrade. And people often ask us about solar panels and storage. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to credit enhance that through the decision that authorizes these programs, but it is at the lender's discretion. So that could be part of a larger energy saving project. Next slide, please. So I wanted to reiterate, a few people in the chat have already mentioned electrification, and we really wanted to emphasize that we support the California's decarbonization goals, including heat pump, space and water heating technology adoption. So like I said before, related costs such as electrical panel upgrades, water heater relocation, permits, et cetera, can qualify for financing through this program. Next slide, please. And here we have a few slides going into more detail on the various programs. I'm not going to go through everything on these slides here, but I wanted to point out for Go Green Business, when I say small, medium, we have 3 different ways that a customer can qualify. It's 100 employees or fewer, 15 million a year in annual revenue, or the customer can qualify through the SBA size standards, which go up to over 40 million a year in annual revenue, depending on the customer's industry. So when we say small, medium business, some of those medium businesses can be fairly large. And some of the benefits that we're seeing in Go Green Business are significantly reduced interest rates, extended terms like I was talking about, so much lower monthly payments, which is pretty exceptional for some of these kind of financing products. And we also have an energy service agreement in which the customer is guaranteed to save money every month because they're paying off the agreement out of their energy savings. Also, these programs offer very rapid credit approval, which is different from many programs that are out there. If the customer wants to get started on that project right away, oftentimes it's 24 to 48 hours to get approved for credit. Next slide. And we know that small businesses are really struggling. They're feeling the impacts of COVID. And right now, small business owners are really not, they have a lot on their plate. They're really not focused on energy efficiency upgrades. But that said, we do have 1.7 million in financed amounts for small, medium businesses out there. We've got 8 current participating finance companies and 88 participating contractors. So we have a lot of different partners who are out there getting the word out to the business community. And we'd like to hear more from you all about how that can help people in your area. Next slide. And with that, I'd like to hand it off to Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Really appreciate that. So my name is Kelly Delaney. As mentioned, I'm an analyst here, and I'm here to talk about our 2 other programs, Go Green Multifamily and Go Green Home, and some exciting updates there. And I have to apologize in advance. I'm recovering from a bit of a cold, so sorry if my voice gets a bit scratchy or thick. So obviously helping affordable multifamily properties make energy efficiency upgrades is very important to us and a key part of achieving California's ambitious goals. And there's an extremely important equity element, which is inherent to working with affordable multifamily properties as well. Like Jonathan said, I'm not going to go into too much detail. These slides will be available afterwards for you to peruse at your leisure. But I want to note the requirements for the properties in this program. At least 50% of the units must be income restricted, and there must be at least 5 years remaining on a property's affordability covenant. And just like with Go Green Business, the measures, those pre-qualified measures must reduce the use of gas or electricity that's delivered by an IOU. The benefits for these property owners are similar to those mentioned for Go Green Business, longer terms, broader accessibility. A great thing about Go Green Multifamily is it's designed to play well with others, and it can be paired with other clean energy or energy efficiency assistance programs like the Low Income Weatherization Program, LIWIP, or each IOU's energy savings assistance programs, even on-bill financing. Even SOMA, we can't credit enhance solar, as was mentioned, but one of the requirements for the SOMA program, the Solar for Multifamily Affordable Housing, is to do an energy efficiency evaluation. And so our financing can be used in conjunction with SOMA to make those properties as efficient and clean as possible. It's also a great option for property owners who don't want to wait through that application process or, yeah, as mentioned, have other non-energy repairs to make. We have an exciting announcement with our Go Green Multifamily program, because even with CAEATFA's credit enhancement, facilitating these upgrades with financing can be challenging for a number of reasons. One key reason that we've found is that these properties are operating within pretty tight margins, and that cost of financing reflected in the interest rates may still be prohibitively high, even with our credit enhancement. So in light of this, we've recently announced a promotional interest rate buy down. This will bring interest rates down to as low as 0%, thus lowering monthly payments and making these investments more palatable for our property owners. A total of $50,000 is available for this buy down. We would love to spend this $50,000. If we can spend this $50,000, we will make more available. It is available on a first come, first served basis, and there is a deadline which is coming up. June 30th is the last date that these funds can be reserved, and then the projects would have to be completed within 120 days of that date. So a little bit of a tight timeline. We're looking for projects that are a bit further along the scoping process, but I just want to call attention to the table at the right as an example of how that interest rate buy down can be applied for an equipment financing agreement, which is a financing product offered by one of our Go Green Multifamily lenders. So you can see for a project worth $50,000, typical interest rate might be 8.31% for 84 months, but we can get that interest rate down to 0 and ultimately save quite a bit in interest paid and reduce that monthly payment. So we think that's pretty compelling, and we want to get the word out about that. Moving on to Go Green Home, as you imagine, it's targeted towards the single family sector, but that includes duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. And it's worth noting that it's not just for homeowners. Renters can also use it, perhaps to purchase appliances or make larger upgrades with the landlord's permission. And speaking of appliances, last year we were able to get Go Green financing available on the SoCal Gas utility marketplace for appliance purchases up to $5,000. And it will also become available on SoCal Edison's utility marketplace sometime this summer as well. I want to note one differentiator about Go Green Home compared to Go Green Multifamily and Go Green Business. It's there in that green box on the right in bold. This requirement simply that a property must receive gas or electricity. This is in comparison to saving fuel delivered by an IOU. Sorry, it must receive gas or electricity from an IOU. So up until now, we've only been able to finance projects for residential IOU customers due to CPUC rules and our funding sources. And this has resulted kind of in a web of eligibility complexity based on utility jurisdiction. That's just limited participation for millions of Californians that are served by a gas IOU, but an electric publicly owned utility such as SMUD here in Sacramento where I live, or LADWP. So we were very pleased to share that earlier this month, Go Green Home began a partnership with the Tech Clean California initiative, which you may be familiar with. It's a market transformation initiative designed to accelerate adoption of heat pump, space, and water heating technologies. And incorporation of these tech funds allows us to expand Go Green Home eligibility to previously restricted customers. So now many, many more Californians will be able to decarbonize and install heat pumps and heat pump water heaters, even if they are served by an electric publicly owned utility So SMUD, LEDWP, also some municipal utilities included there, Anaheim, Roseville, and some irrigation districts, Imperial County, Modesto, Turlock. So if they are served by an electric publicly owned utility such as those, so long as they receive gas from an IOU. And I just want to draw attention to this because there was a question earlier about fuel switching. So a project could include just 100% electric measures and it still qualifies so long as that property receives gas from an IOU, even if there's no gas measures in there. So that's a lot of information from Jonathan and I, and what does this really actually mean for you all? If there's one thing that you take away from our presentation today, it's that there are just multiple ways to help your community reach decarbonization goals with the expansion of 100% financing for electric projects in POU or muni utility territory through Go Green Home, small businesses being able to use on-bill repayment for through Go Green Business to make their payments directly on their utility bill, and the interest rate barrier being reduced or completely eliminated for multifamily projects, although noting that deadline quickly approaching. So we encourage property owners to move really quickly. And this is all in addition to the many other benefits of the Go Green the Go Green financing programs. So no property liens, you can finance that cost of those additional legally or practically necessary measures such as electrical panel upgrades, maybe a permitting or moving water heater relocation that's been, I think, pretty common for heat pump water heater installations. So all of that is covered under these programs. We hope that there's a lot of excitement that this generates for you guys. I want to turn the conversation back over to our audience. I see there's some interaction going on in the chat, but we'd really like to invite any CCA, REN, local government attendees, even, I don't think there's many POUs on this call, but if you're out there, let us know, to throw out some ideas of how we can work together to get Go Green financing in front of your constituents or customers. And to get some ideas flowing, I'd invite you to think about how these programs can help your customers or your residents. What are your organization or community's energy or decarbonization goals? Do you have reach codes for building efficiency? And then within that, what mechanisms already exist to help implement these goals, and how can perhaps Go Green Finance get integrated within that pipeline? I will note that we're not utility implementers. We can't go door to door to shout the word about these programs as much as we'd love to, but we can provide marketing support. Maybe that looks like flyers on the building counter department, the building department counter, sorry. Copy for your website or your newsletters, utility bill inserts. We love to hear some ideas there. And my last note on this is just that contractors and local lenders are a great source of this type of information for their customers. They're the ones that are really helping spread the word about this product, and so about these products. So if this audience has the ability to introduce us to contractor networks, local contractor networks, or local lenders or credit unions, we certainly welcome that as well. I have one more question there at the bottom about POU interaction, but I want to pause on that and just see if there are any good suggestions in the chat. And
I'm seeing more questions in the chat, which we'll get to. And I want to, if anybody has a thought here they want to say out loud, why don't you raise your hand and we can let you unmute yourself. But this should be pertaining directly to the question she's asking here. And Susan, please do. Susan Wright from County of San Mateo.
Sure. Your question about how to coordinate. I think if you are able to partner directly with RENs and in our areas, Bay REN, so that there isn't a separate whole process, that would be huge. But when you're saying, is the whole thing deadline June 30th? Because integrating that, of course, would take a little bit of time, but I think that's the best way to get people knowing about these things.
so that deadline is just for the multifamily IRB.
Oh, got it. So the rest is ongoing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
We have been in communication with the RENs, in particular Bay Ren. On my side, I worked with some of the folks who are administering small business programs. Unfortunately, my contacts there have moved on, so we need to reconnect. But definitely we are working, because like I said, we are designed to integrate with utility offerings, which includes the RENs. So we definitely want to help support customers in that area. And when you mentioned the process, our process is very minimal from the customer side. In fact, the customer doesn't even need to know that our financing exists, because they can apply for the financing, or the contractor can apply on their behalf. We try to minimize the hurdles that people have to go through also, I mean, on the contractor side, but we do need contractors participate or to submit projects to us and certify the projects to us, so that we have the data we need about the financing products and the energy efficiency installations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, having run a credit enhancement program within a local government a long time ago, I got a lot of thoughts coming up about the kinds of things we did, and just thinking, you know, how many benefits there are to local governments to encouraging participation in programs like these. They're mentioning your contractor base. You know, if you have a relationship with your contractors, you're giving the tools, you're giving your contractor community another tool in their tool belt to make these projects happen. And you're probably really having a hard time, like everybody is, getting your existing buildings fixed, right? Getting them retrofitted, getting the energy savings out of them or electrified. And I know that those are key. Those are what all of us are focused on. So this is just another tool in your tool belt that you don't have to design yourself. I'm sure. I'm wondering for you guys, is it, what's your coverage look like? And are there areas in the state that you really are looking for more? It's probably everybody. You need more lenders, more contractors, more homeowner awareness. But is there anywhere in the state where you're really just having a major problem getting participation?
On the residential side, we are really working hard to ramp up uptake in the Central Valley. That's been a tough spot for us, especially even with just contractor recruitment. I mean, like as Jonathan mentioned, we do coordinate with the RENs, and especially like Bay Ren has a good contractor network that we've tapped in the past. But yes, if anybody on the call is in the Central Valley and knows of local contractor networks or communicates with them, if you all already have, if you have newsletters, if you have website pages that are about offering these resources to your residents and your businesses, please throw the word out in the chat, or our emails will be up at the end, because we'd love to just get some language out there.
Yeah, and on the small biz side, I mean, geographically it is kind of similar to residential, although I mean, really I'd love to have projects from all over the state. But especially we could use, you know, trusted messengers to the business community. As I mentioned, you know, small business owners are not really thinking about energy saving projects as their top priority. But I know that that is a successful approach that others have taken of, you know, going out and working directly with business owners to get them, you know, more excited about belonging to a green movement and saving energy for themselves as well.
There's a really great suggestion in the chat about outreach to chambers of commerce. And Jonathan, I think you have done some of that kind of outreach in the past.
We have, and we also did outreach with the California Green Business Network, which some of you are probably part of, to the various member organizations there, to get the word out to small business owners, because that's, like I said, the trusted messenger thing, which is a big deal for us.
Absolutely. Really anybody working in energy efficiency or trying to address existing buildings is somebody who's a potential influential arm, already has probably messaging and networking systems developed, and you just plug this in. So, you know, Susan Wright's asking a good question about providing marketing materials. It sounds like you can, but do you have anything that would directly help a local government easily promote this?
So we have, we can provide marketing materials. We have a number of flyers that are ready to go, but we're happy and excited to like brainstorm on other materials that we could create. Could also do webinars. do you have a suggestion or?
I would welcome anybody to speak up if they have more suggestions. I've seen things like co-branding potentially work well, where you actually have the value of the brand, the local organization brand. That can be difficult to do sometimes, but I've seen it happen.
Yeah, that is always possible. Actually, our contractors can get a co-branded flyer as well. And we work with our contractors to make sure that, yeah, there's some co-branding done on their websites, but absolutely.
Yeah, I see Sierra Huckman saying that you're hosting a webinar with local contractors in Yolo County. And yeah, we would love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Contractors there. And for anyone else who would like to get us involved.
And somebody suggesting coordinate with the Building Decarbonization Coalition.
That's definitely a good idea.
Thankfully, yeah, that's a great idea. We are also very happy to be leveraging tech's outreach to contractors. They're getting a lot of engagement right now. So definitely a great suggestion.
I see California Green Business Certification should have tiers, recognition for energy. So green business programs for sure. Grid alternatives, somebody suggesting. Yep, people would love marketing materials. Even things like a tile ad, something that's easy to plug into a website. Or even a website that's dedicated specifically to like a local, like a landing page that local governments are sending their constituents to. That's sort of through the lens of community.
Travis McCleary suggested California Conservation Corps for low cost or no cost labor. That sounds great. Like I said, for my program, we do need a participating contractor to certify the project because we need someone who is licensed within the state of California to be answerable for meeting our program requirements. But if you have labor that is willing to work with a participating contractor, then that could be a very good way to save customers money.
Somebody else here is from Marin. It's putting flyers included in building permit applications. We actually use our assessor's role and sent information out that way. You can do it with property tax bills.
Those are awesome suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, local governments have a lot of ways to reach their communities, especially property owners, in like very, authoritative ways.
We have a raised hand here from Carrie Whitlaw.
Oh, Carrie, go ahead.
Hi. So I was wondering, oh, my camera's out. There we go. So we actually the city of Elk Grove is actually putting on a home energy savings expo in June for our residents, right? How can they, what information we're working with SMUD as our local utility provider here on that. But I was wondering, we're doing a series of talks, right? We've got some American Institute of Architects talking about how to, do site planning for things. But if you all would be interested in doing a talk for specifically around the Go Green Home, right? And for homeowners, how to finance some of these things if they want to do, energy efficiency retrofits, if they want to move from, gas or mixed homes to fully electric, how can they finance some of those things? We'd love to have somebody there talking about how to finance some of these upgrades with our residents, if you all would be interested.
I think so. I'd love to talk with you offline. I think I can get your contact information from the LERN staff or the LERN folks, if that's cool.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the great suggestion.
And I see another suggestion from Esperanza Vielma regarding trade organizations. We have connected with trade organizations in the past, and we would love any introductions or suggestions that you have for those that we could reach out to. I'm definitely interested in reaching particular small business communities where they would be receptive to this kind of message.
I just want to be aware of timing.
Yep.
Because I know we're coming up on it, and there's a lot of good questions that I want to get to. I also just want to raise, this is like a little bit of pure market research for us. We would like to know how local governments are coordinating, those of you who exist in territories with publicly owned utilities, we'd like to know more about how or if you coordinate with those utilities. And I don't know if there's, this might be a bit of a reach. I don't think there are maybe any or many POUs on the call, but if anybody can offer just like, if you meet with them regularly, yeah, if you coordinate messaging.
I definitely used to. We had one in our community. So I think that you're likely to see if there is one in a community that there's some relationship with the local government.
In that, if there is anybody who has those kind of relationships, we'd also like to offer ourselves up to provide staff training just to help the folks there who maybe, you know, as like the folks on the first line who are getting calls from customers who might be alarmed about their utility bills, for example, being able to communicate the benefits and availability of our program. We'd like to volunteer ourselves for that.
So do we have time for maybe a few more questions?
Yeah.
Unless you have more slides, Kelly.
I just have one more little slide I'll get to really
Okay.
quickly. We obviously have given you guys a lot of exciting information, and we believe it's only the beginning of exciting updates. So just want to let you all know that as a part of the ongoing clean energy financing proceeding, CAEATFA is proposing to expand Go Green financing in 2 ways, which I think this group might find interesting, including expanding the programs to include comprehensive clean energy technologies such as solar and storage, and reauthorizing our non-residential program, which would allow large public buildings to finance energy efficiency upgrades and repay those charges on the bill using this new OBR infrastructure. We are also always seeking additional sources of funding to further support statewide eligibility. And so a funding relationship with the POU or municipalities are possible. We are talking to a couple of municipalities already about developing these kinds of relationships. So please contact us if you would like to discuss that option. And with that, here's our contact information. Additional information, we have a newsletter that you can keep tabs of what's going on with us, and we can move on to questions.
We know it's looking like a lot of our questions have been answered either in the chat or through the discussion. And so I'm asking John if he can point out any questions he didn't see already addressed. Let's see. Oh, here's one. So yeah, we've talked about, you've already talked about electrification. There was an answer here on compliance verification. I don't know if you want to go into that a little bit more details. So Scott's asking about compliance verification for the contractor's agreements and work. Do you check to ensure a certificate of installation?
Yeah, so on the residential side, we do have a team that does compliance verification for a number of projects. They're randomly sampled. There is a little bit of a formula there as well, so we can look at projects that maybe have some riskier elements if there's a gas appliance installation, for example. And we do some inspections, and then based on certain criteria of the project, if we believe that there's a risk of if there's a combustion appliance, we will require a little bit more complicated than that, but we do require combustion appliance safety testing in some projects.
Okay. And then there's a more recent question. Could you, from L. Franzen, can you clarify the distinction of what is available to affordable versus market rate multifamily? I see on the website that 50% of units must be affordable, but I thought I heard or saw something about market rate earlier. Is there anything available to market rate multifamily?
I did answer that in the chat, but yes, my program can be used to finance the small medium Go Green business program can be used to finance market rate multifamily if it doesn't meet the definition of the affordable multifamily program that you mentioned. And then we have a question about power purchase agreements. I think so. I think this can be combined with that. Our requirement is that, at least for my program, and this is, as Kelly mentioned, changed somewhat recently for the Go Green Home program, is that the energy saving measures being installed need to save energy for one or more of the IOUs, because that's where our support comes from. We're supported by ratepayer dollars. So I don't think that would conflict with the power purchase agreement, would it? Because I mean, you're still getting a bill from PG&E or whichever your utility is. Is that accurate? Leslie, if you wanted to raise your hand and answer that.
No, I think that, then thank you for taking that question. That's something that I would like to research and be really clear on, and why I was asking you just to start that conversation, because I don't know the answer.
Okay, yeah, we definitely don't have any limitation on that in the regulations other than what I just mentioned. You know.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
I think you're doing a good job. Some other people in the chat are providing more suggestions about, you know, are you collaborating with this, and that? So we will collect those chats and make sure you guys have that record for you for all these good ideas that were shared today. And I really want to thank everybody for doing it. In my experience, you know, when we talk to property owners, contractors about it, it's all really good, and sometimes the devil's in the details, and the process super matters. So as you're building up these resources and materials, marketing materials, making people aware of what the process looks like up front can go a long way. But thank you for doing all this and for coming and talking to us about this. This is so helpful. I really feel some enthusiasm in the crowd around having this extra tool in the tool belt that they can share with their communities. So I think we're going to get a lot more collaboration out of this. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say? Last couple words?
That's great. Thank you for hosting, and thank you all for your input. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to coordinating with you all. And as you mentioned, the process is important. We really took that lesson as we developed these programs to try and really lower the upfront barriers, minimize the touch for the customer, but also have, you know, the fewest hoops to jump through for the contractor and the finance company too.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah, I think we actually got some good feedback from a contractor really recently, just about like, this is one of the easiest programs to participate in. It's something that we've really, in our leadership as well, has really focused on reducing all those barriers.
Well, you guys are doing nice work out there. I really wish you good luck. Thanks again. Come talk to us again anytime. We'll move on to our last couple of points here. If we can grab back the slides. So.
Yes.
And maybe Kelly, would you both mind putting your email addresses just in the chat so folks can easily grab it? I think that would be helpful.
Sure.
All right, so in our last few minutes here, we do this thing, BPC Workshop, which is really just an opportunity really for us to share some of the tools and things we're developing for you and maybe get a little feedback on it or just make sure you're aware of it. Actually, I get to hand this off to Ryan Bodani, who is a Senior Project Manager at Civic Well and oversees the CEEC program. He has been doing a lot of work to try to ensure that we understand who in California is a DAC and a little bit more detail about the scale of DACs within communities. So I'm going to hand it off to Ryan.
All right. Well, thank you, Angie. So this is going to be pretty quick. It's basically a new resource that we created here at CEEC and Civic Well, because we wanted to better understand disadvantaged communities or DACs, right? Specifically their distribution within local governments, because as some of you know, CalEnviroScreen, which is one of the tools that the state uses to define DACs, does so at the census tract level. But census tracts, they don't have budgets, they don't have staff, they don't have elected representatives. And so we've translated that census tract data into municipal boundaries, so cities, towns, counties. And this basically allows any local government to fairly easily see whether any of its residents are living within some of the highest concentration DACs and easily compare itself against other local governments in the state. So now that we've created this resource, we're sharing it with all of you, so you're free to use it and share it as you see fit. And we've dropped the link in the chat. Oh, Angie, I think you're muted.
Thanks, Ryan. The benefit of this is really knowing, where the DACs are located and how many you have. And, this gives you kind of like a relative scale, like who's got the most DACs. Not that that's really been an eligibility criteria for any particular funding to be the most DAC-y in the state, but it's useful to know what communities we're really targeting when we're talking about disadvantaged communities. Like what's the relationship with a jurisdictional boundary? So thank you, Ryan, for doing all that extra work to tie these things together and making that available. Okay, so we're going to go to our next slide. And I get to now hand this over to John to plug why you should submit a proposal for the CEEC forum. So go ahead, John.
Thanks so much, Angie. Hello, folks. John Vandervoort, project coordinator with the CEEC team over at CivicWell. Just wanted to do a quick plug, remind everyone to save the date for the 13th annual CEEC forum this September 21st and 22nd. Remind everyone that call for session proposals is open right now, and I really want to encourage everyone to submit a proposal. We're accepting submissions for interactive workshop sessions, poster sessions, mobile workshops, and then traditional breakout sessions that will be featured throughout the forum. We're accepting proposals for all content levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And the current deadline is April 27th, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I believe that the link is already in the chat, but I'm going to drop it again just to make sure that everyone has it. And I really encourage everyone to read through the guidance document to really figure out exactly what we're looking for. And I really encourage everyone to submit a proposal.
Don't forget to physically put September 21st and 22nd on your calendar to save that date.
Yes, please do.
Hey, John, there's a question for you here. Can an organization submit 2 different proposals?
An organization can submit more than one proposal, but just based on, for equity reasons, I would say that we are less likely to accept multiple submissions from one organization, but absolutely, that is contingent. Absolutely, you're welcome to submit more than one proposal.
All right. Thank you so much, John. And next slide here, I think this is just really us wrapping up. It looks like we've got some other things. I want you to just make sure you scan the chats here. There's a California Climate Policy Summit next Monday in Sacramento. Somebody's sharing, so thanks for that, Kurt. Our next meeting is going to be May 10th. And we are tying down our speaker as we speak. If you have suggestions for organizations, speakers, the programs that you want to hear more about, you can contact me anytime. I would really love also if you would just reach out to me anytime if you're like, hey, I have this service, this program, I want to make sure others are aware of it. Or there's this thing I know about, make sure you throw it on that slide when we go through our opportunity roundup. Send stuff my way. So I'll drop, and maybe somebody can. I'm at ahacker@civicwell.org. I think you'll have access to me pretty easily. And you can also reach out to the CEEC team at any time through me if you'd like to do have any kind of question, technical assistance request. I'm actually going to go back because you guys asked questions about funding for electrification and see if I can do a little more deeper dive and have a more surgical response to that question, even though my real response is electrification. We have to think of it broadly, and it probably fits a lot of things that don't say specifically electrification. So, but I will go back and do that work. But please ask me any questions at any point in time, and I'll see if I can give you some direct help. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this out today. Thanks again for being with us. We'll see you next month.